Do you like wrestling trivia? Then check out the 5-Star Match Game, the Pro Wrestling Quiz Show. I'm Joe Gagney, and every episode, I grill 3 contestants with 5 rounds of power-packed wrestling trivia. We have over 30 evergreen episodes in the archives covering WWE, AEW, Japan, Mexico, and much, 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 much more. Play along at home and check it out today.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Hey there, Thunder Buddies and Travelers down Thunder Road. It's us, Days of Thunder, the WCW Thunder Rewatch podcast that you didn't ask for, but we did anyway, coming to you as part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network and powered by largemanappears.com. I'm your host, your seasonal chill on Thunder Road, Dave Ryan, and I'm joined, as I am every week, by my faithful co-host, Stagger Lee Malone. Lee, how's the form?
Yeah, I'm just sitting here waiting for the snow to hit that we've been promised.
Yeah, allegedly the first snow of the season was going to come tonight.
Yeah, I got all the warnings from my wife, who does apparently care about me, saying to, take it easy on the roads in the morning.
Does apparently care about you. Yeah, like that's suspect. That's still up for questioning, is it?
Allegedly. But yeah, so it's definitely winter. Definitely feels like winter now. The heating is on a good majority of the time that we're in the house these days.
Yeah, we just got to top up ourselves.
Yeah, so
the oil.
But yeah, no, I'm good. I'm a bit exasperated that I am up well past my bedtime at this time of night now, recording this show.
And such was the it was not that long ago that this was the customary recording time. And you're just gone too long on the tooth now, buddy.
Well, also I'm employed now, so that's the difference.
That's true. We really should have capitalized more on your unemployment in terms of banking shows.
I mean, that would have been the smart thing to do.
Yeah, your excuse to not be up late recording then was just that you were old. Now it's now your excuse is that you're working.
Yeah, now I have to be awake in 6.5 hours time.
That's great. I'll just try to milk this out for as long as I possibly can. There's probably people that are already looking at the track bar on this podcast going, "Oh, that poor fucker."
No, nobody cares about my hardships.
They're saying nobody cares about January 2000 Thunder, and you'd be right on that as well. We will get into that in a little bit. I had not a long weekend, but a good weekend. That was just kind of like packed with stuff. We had the momentous occasion of painting our baby's nursery, which painting is one of those things that seems like a good idea at the time to do yourself, and like you kind of have that thing as like, no, it's our first child, I'd love to paint their nursery. But then about like 40 minutes into the process, you want to die. And
that's just the taping off the corners.
Yeah. And this room has a dado rail as well. Yeah. So that had to be taped off. The windowsills had to be taped off. The door frame had to be taped off. The skirting boards. Yeah, it really sucks. It really
does.
It's extremely boring. It's extremely tedious. And we needed 3 coats. So that was fun. That took up a lot of the weekend. I'll tell you what, I blasted through the podcast queue. That was great.
That's one bonus, I suppose.
Yeah, got to listen to podcasts about the Onion buying InfoWars. That was good. That was good fun. The funniest story of the year, easily.
Definitely, yeah.
Got to listen to a shout out to one of my favorite podcasts that I advocate for sometimes on Twitter, Blank Check, which is a podcast that does goes through like the filmography of famous directors that
Okay.
got like a blank check to make whatever movie they wanted, and sometimes they make great movies and sometimes they make bad movies. They're in the middle of their David Lynch season, and they just did Mulholland Drive on Sunday, which is one of my top 5 all-time movies, and a show that's normally an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if you're really cheeky. They did 4 hours
Wow.
on Mulholland Drive and listened to every fucking second of it while I was painting. So that was great. Thank you to Griffin and David because they really came to my aid there on Sunday. I was lagging. Um, I was going to ask you, Lee, in terms of, people are really loving that the snack talk is back on the show.
Mm,
The evenings have drawn darker.
they
There
have.
are certain seasonal treats that are enjoyed in homes all across Ireland. Are there any particular weaknesses of yours when they start showing up in the supermarkets around this time of year that they're in offers right now leading up to Christmas? So they might go in the trolley and you might say, oh no, I won't open them until December starts. But then slowly you find yourself reaching for them.
Now, normally, any other year, by now, there would have been a tin of sweets opened. So whether it be hero celebrations,
Yeah.
one of them would have been opened on a
Now,
dark night.
we should reel back again for our American friends. It's a tradition here that's not so much a thing in America, is that you would get a giant tub of chocolates, various
Mm-hmm.
chocolates, and there's 4 competitors in the market, I would see it as. You've got, I think, your 2 classics that are from our parents' generation and possibly before that. You've got the Quality Street, which I don't rate very highly. That's at the bottom of my 4, I have to say. Um, and you have the Cadbury's Roses.
Yes.
And there's like various, like just an assortment of different kinds of sweets, like from your very plain, just here's a bit of chocolate, up to kind of like strawberry cream sweets and like orange creams and toffee pennies in the Quality
Quality
Street,
Street, yeah.
and you have in the my particular favorite in the Roses, you have the caramel barrel. So those were the OGs. They had a vanilla
Mm.
fudge as well. That's great. The
I think
Roses, right?
didn't one of them at one point have a walnut whip style as well?
Yes, there's a walnut whip
Yeah.
in the I think it's in the Roses. There's a walnut whip type um thing. But then kind of the pretenders to the throne kind of arrive in the modern era as we were kind of growing up. There's the celebrations, which
Mm-hmm.
are your assortment of Nestle and Mars company sweets. So you got like your Milky Ways, your Maltesers, your Marses, your Galaxies, things like that. And then you've got your miniature heroes, which are your kind of your contemporary Cadbury sweets, your twirls, your double deckers, your Cadbury's caramel, your dairy milk, things like that. So that's just setting the context, and they come in these kind of little drum tub kind of things.
Tubs. Yeah, the
They used to come
tubs.
in metal tins, and the tradition in Ireland back in the day was that you would collect all the metal tins, and they would be what you stored your Christmas lights in up in the attic.
Yes.
But
Or
now
old
they're plastic tubs that are
or,
useless.
or old photographs or documents or any
Yeah,
assortment of stuff that you would find around the house would be in
yeah.
an old roses tin.
The primary storage mechanism of Irish families over the last 2 generations has been biscuit and sweet tins from Christmas.
Yes.
So yes, what do you usually go for?
Well, as I'm sitting here in the kitchen, I can see on top of the presses there is exactly one tin of celebrations, or sorry, one tub, and one
Mhm.
tub of heroes, and there are 3 mini selection boxes.
Ooh, okay,
So we are now what, mid-November. I
yes,
think it's fair to say any other year, one of those selection boxes would have been gone by this point.
yes,
Because
the
the proliferation of selection boxes from the
yeah,
moment Halloween ends
yes, and these
until
would be as distinct from the tubs of sweets. Selection boxes would be a box where you get somewhere, depending on the size of the selection box, between 4 and 8 full-size chocolate bars.
yeah,
And
they're not full size anymore.
well, close, yeah, they were back in the day. And now, yeah, there's kind of like
Now
a
their selection box
shrinkflation
size.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still not to be sniffed at. You get one at Christmas, you're still having it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
no, there's now 3 of them sitting directly, excuse me, in my eye line. But
mm,
as I say, it's well past my bedtime, and I don't be up late anymore to
yeah.
wolf through the sweets when the kids are in bed. So
The other thing that is very tempting as well is that they do the large boxes of Tato at Christmas as well.
see, I'm not a potato guy, so
See, I am. Last night, I had to jump. The option was there. So I bought, we haven't opened them. We can hold off on the crisps till Christmas time, but the sweets have already been cracked into. I have a coffee mug over here on my bookshelf that has like what's left of the tub of heroes
oof.
in them.
Well, I mean,
But
look, you guys have an excuse.
we do. As Emma would say, she's having Christmas for two
Yes.
this year. But and that is the thing. It's like this is the thing about living with a pregnant woman. It's like when she decides she wants something, like that's it. It's just like the sweets are being opened. There's no ability to wait.
There's no
In fact, it becomes quite urgent that it happens. Like
Yeah.
we had a takeaway from the chipper at the weekend, and the one thing she hadn't really gone back to, I gave the exploit of the fish finger sandwiches recently on the show, and she enjoyed the fish finger sandwich but didn't go back to it. She was like, okay, that's enough omega-3 now. But I I got fish and chips, fresh fish and chips from the chipper at the weekend because I wasn't going to cook after all that painting, and she got the smell, and she was just like, I need it. And she really tried. Tried so hard to fight with her conscience because she didn't want to eat any fish, and it lasted maybe 20 hours. I was out the following day meeting friends in Dublin, and I get a text from her saying that she really wants the fish, and I was like, just go get the fish, and she immediately sent me back a picture from outside the chipper. She was already there.
She wasn't seeking permission as much as telling you, I really want it,
Yeah.
so I'm here to get it.
She was informing me of the decision she had reached, and I was very proud of her for that. But yes, we had there was a very competitive deal going on in our local supermarket that I scored the variety box of Tato, your cheese and onion, your salt and vinegar, and your smoky bacon, 20 bags in that box, and then also just a classic box of King crisps, cheese and onion.
I'd much prefer a packet of King crisps to a Tato.
Yes, for cheese and onion purposes and for crisp sandwich purposes, I much prefer a King crisp. Now, much like the great tea bag debate in Ireland, I imagine most Americans, if you order a bag of King and order a bag of Tato, you will go, there is no difference between these two. I do think there is a certain amount of insanity going on with us, that they probably do taste absolutely identical, but Irish people have convinced themselves they're either a Tato family or a King family.
Oh yeah,
but just let us have our joy.
And definitely none of that Nordy Tato stuff.
No, we're free Stato people down here, as they call it. Anyway, let's move on from that.
Actually, before we do, you mentioned something there, and I think we've talked about this before.
Okay.
But Americans will think this is crazy. So you mentioned the humble crisp sandwich.
Yes. Yes.
So
this is like the singularity of carbs.
Yes.
Where you essentially you get two nice thick slices of white bread.
Has to be white bread.
Yes. You lace the fucker with butter.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only filling inside it is potato chips, crisps, as we would call them. And there's only really two accepted flavors for doing this with, and it's primarily cheese and onion.
Yes.
But salt and vinegar is also permitted.
It's permitted, but you will get a certain amount of abuse from the family members around you.
You're talking the split is 80-20 in favor of cheese and onion, is what people are going to reach for the crisp sandwich. Now, I have partaken of the slight variation on that, where you also add a slice of cooked ham.
Oh yeah,
they're having crisp sandwich. Yeah. Now, I wouldn't go. I do think the people that go the ham and cheese crisp sandwich, I think that's deviancy. To be honest, now, I think there's too many textures going on at that point.
Do you know what? I don't think I've ever put cheese on a Christmas ham sandwich.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, Lee, and
Yeah,
I've tried to stop it. It's like trying to a slow motion train wreck. Is you can't look away, but you don't want to watch it.
I don't think I'd
Um,
enjoy it. That takes away
no,
from what it's supposed to be.
no, like the whole it's just not it shouldn't be a thing. It's against God. But yeah, the crisp sandwich is I think we said to old friend of the show, Jeff, when he got his hand on some Teo once in his neck of the woods, he should try a crisp sandwich. And I believe he did and enjoyed it. But because it's like carbs on carbs with butter, people wouldn't necessarily think it's good. We similarly have a chip sandwich here, which that will confuse Americans as well. That's a French fry sandwich, which is the same,
Well,
literally the same series of ingredients, but you just replace the
well,
crisps with chips.
I will say it's not French fries necessarily. It's more steak fries, steak
Yeah.
chips.
Thick cut
Yeah, thick
potato
cut chip. Yeah,
potato fries. Yeah.
laced with
Um,
salt and vinegar.
yeah. We must try and put a pin in it to talk about leftover sandwiches after Christmas and snack
Oh
talks
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
festive snack talk.
Absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah,
we could link that in with World's End this year if we do a pre show for World's End. We could talk Christmas leftover sandwiches for that. That'd be a
we
good time.
could, we could.
Anyway, let's talk Observer for this week. As I was kind of saying to you before we logged on, Lee, we have one death to talk about this week, the first kind of notable wrestler death of the 2000s. But once we breeze through that, we've got some Observer awards. So I just wanted to mark. I don't know. Maybe you'll surprise me. As somebody who might be a bit more au fait with his career than I am, but it's a name that everyone will be familiar with, and that's Gary Albright. Dying on 1/7, 36 years old, collapsed in ring at an independent show in Hazleton, Pennsylvania. Heart attack is the initial diagnosis. Yeah, he's a guy I've always heard of. I've seen I've seen a little bit of him. Like he was active in UWFI and All Japan and stuff like that, but I wouldn't consider myself an expert in Gary Albright in spite of like knowing quite well who he is, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'd be similar. I think I've seen enough of him to be aware of who he is and know what he's about, but I wouldn't consider myself anyway a Gary Albright fan or expert or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he died so young though.
Yeah, just going through his it's a good day when Dave used to still do great obituaries. Like it's a 6-page obituary in the Observer, so it's going to give you like everything you need to be an expert in Gary Albright. So that's worth checking out. Let's go to the Observer Awards, the year-end awards for 1999. Winning, pretty close, separated by only a handful of votes, really. Mitsuharu Misawa is your wrestler of the year for 1999, closely followed by Steve Austin, with Vader in third, Rock fourth, and Keiji Muto rounding out the top 5 there. Again, that's this. Given the period of time, this is like Misawa is starting to taper off, but like I think, especially in Dave's mind, is so far ahead of the chasing pack. And for what Dave looked at in his wrestling, the American scene wasn't providing that on near the same level at this stage. So it's kind of it's interesting because I'm trying to think of like Steve Austin's 1999 that he got that close. Like I can't remember the great in-ring matches in 1999.
99.
This is Rock at WrestleMania.
It was the
which is
cage,
good,
the,
but
ca-
it's
the
not.
cage match with Vince in the February pay per view. Mania, which was the worst Mania match.
Yeah.
Backlash was Rock again, wasn't it?
Yes.
Or, I don't know if it was Backlash, but whatever the April
it was. Yeah.
was.
No, it was called Backlash. That was the first Backlash, I think.
Then the following month was God, who challenged him? Was that who was Austin's 99? Because
I'm on the way to rescue you with some searching here.
There was a May pay-per-view, and then there was June, which was King of the Ring, which was the ladder match with the McMahons, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Had to be fully loaded because it had to be when Undertaker beat him for the title.
So we have Backlash is Steve Austin versus The Rock with Shane McMahon as special guest referee. We have, we're still doing a lot of house shows. 1999. We have Over the Edge 99 in May, which is Undertaker versus Austin with Shane McMahon as referee.
Yeah. That's where you get screwed out of the title, yeah.
Yeah. We have King of the Ring, control of the WWF 2-on-1 handicap match, Shane and Vince. We have Fully Loaded 99, First Blood, Undertaker. He doesn't wrestle again till SummerSlam with Mankind and Triple H with Jesse Ventura. No Mercy is Triple H again.
And isn't he on one of them UK pay-per-views, which is like a 6-man challenge or something?
Yeah, and then obviously Survivor Series happens.
Yeah.
So it's not like on pay-per-view.
Not a great year.
A stellar year for him, but like obviously being the biggest money drawing star in the history of the business at that stage, he's got to finish high, I guess.
And again, when the competition is 1999 WCW,
yeah,
you're going to come out smelling like roses.
And they've been trading for the last couple of years. Misawa won Wrestler of the Year in 97, Steve Austin won in 98, and now Misawa again. Most outstanding wrestler, Misawa again, with a bigger margin in this one. Benoit second, Kobashi third. We have biggest box office draw, The Rock is in second to Steve Austin, obviously. I don't think that even needs to be mentioned. But he's like has about half the votes of Steve Austin. We have oh god, Dave's formatting is just terrible. Feud of the year, Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon, with Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, and Steve Austin versus The Rock as 2 and 3, which is fair enough. Kenta Kobashi and Jun Akiyama are your tag team of the year, with Matt and Jeff Hardy in second, Otani and Takaiwa in third, Misawa Ogawa fourth, Edge and Christian fifth. Most improved is Vader.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he finishes pretty high on Wrestler of the Year as well.
Joe, I'd say most improved is probably like a fucking very big slight at Vader, but it was just like considering where he was in '98 with the WWF.
I think when you think of most improved, you think of like a youngish wrestler who like it finally clicks for earlier in their career rather than fucking Vader. Best in interviews, no surprise, it's The Rock. Foley second, Jericho third. Most charismatic, The Rock and Steve Austin are your first and second, with Jericho in third again. Best technical wrestler, Otani. Bruiser Brody Memorial Award for Best Brawler. That's a tongue twister. Mick Foley, number 1. Steve Austin, number 2. Best high flying wrestler, Hoovy, number 1. Jeff Hardy, number 2. Most overrated, Kevin Nash in a fucking landslide with Hulk Hogan and Sid as your 2 and 3.
Get out of here with your Sid.
Most underrated, Jericho wins marginally over Hoovy.
I don't know how Jericho's underrated with the fucking push he was brought in.
Yeah. I guess he's the co-intercontinental champion at this time, and people are not feeling it.
That's true.
Benoit, Psychosis, and Eddie Guerrero rounding out your top 5 there. Promotion of the year, the World Wrestling Federation by a mile over New Japan in second, All Japan third, ECW fourth, WCW 7th. That's pretty good for them. 5th and 6th. Gaia and Torioman.
Okay.
Best television show, Raw is top. Nitro all the way down in 7th. Thunder did not finish. That's shocking to me.
That's disgusting.
Match of the year, Misawa versus Kobashi, 6-11 in Tokyo. Edge and Christian versus the Hardy Boys at No Mercy is second. Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit in Kansas City. Misawa Nagawa versus Kobashi and Akiyama 3-6 in Tokyo. And Steve Austin versus The Rock 425 Hartford. That must be the Backlash match.
Yeah, it would be, yeah.
WrestleMania
I don't remember
surely
that
not
being
that late.
particularly good.
I think it was better than the Mania match from what I remember. But I haven't seen it in a long time. I did have a Backlash 99 VHS tape at the time. Rookie of the Year, Vindication for Lee Malone, Blitzkrieg by a
Hell yeah.
mile.
Hell yeah.
Shane McMahon number 2, Kurt Angle number 3.
What did they ever do on the business?
Test number 4, Lash LaRue number 5. And I will round out the top 10 here because there's some fun names in here. Jody Fleisch, number 6.
Oh,
I Fujita, number 7. This, I'll tell you what, I demand a recount. Number 8, David Flair. David Flair got 2 first place votes in this, who I assume were Ric Flair and Arn Anderson.
I was just going to say that.
Like, how is David Flair finishing above in 9th place Genki Horiguchi?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
And then Masaru Seno is your number 10 in that. That's just
Genki Horiguchi and David Flair in the same rookie class.
Yeah. And Shane McMahon finishing miles above both of them. Served fantastic. In one case. Best non-wrestler, Vince McMahon by a mile. Shane McMahon, number 2. Joel Gertner, number 3. Tori Wilson, number 4. And Deborah, 5. Manager of the Year is not done this year because managers are kind of already dead now at this stage. Best television announcer, Jim Ross, by, like, this is the biggest margin in any category so far, over Mike Tenay in 2nd, Joey Styles 3rd, Scott Hudson 4th, and Jerry Lawler 5th. Worst television announcer, this is almost as big a margin. Tony Schiavone, number 1.
Tony got a lot of hate.
He sure did. Bobby Heenan, number 2. Now, Bobby Heenan is checked out, so he deserves a high finish.
Like, here's the thing. Like, we've watched a lot of WCW from 1999.
Yeah.
Tony, yeah, there was times he sounded pissed off and checked out. But I don't think he was actively bad.
No. Not in a way. I think maybe with the kind of rose-tinted glasses, or the reverse of that, where now we kind of look at current day announcing and we're just like, oh, Tony wasn't that bad. Yeah, at the time, it might be the worst major announcing on television, but like announcing has gotten so much worse over the last 25 years that he looks way better now.
Like 2 years from now, they're going to have Coachman on fucking Raw every week.
Mm-hmm. Todd Grisham.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much. We will never be a Ruthless Aggression podcast. I can promise you that. I lived through that era in real time. I have no desire to go back to it again. God bless. The Attitude Era boys are doing the Ruthless Aggression era pay-per-view by pay-per-view at the moment. So if you want those takes, go to them. Mm-hmm. Great lads. The best major wrestling card of the year. ECW Anarchy Rules 9/19 in Chicago. 2nd place, New Japan 10/11 in the Tokyo Dome. WWF No Mercy is 3rd. WrestleMania is 4th. And Spring Stampede is number 5. That's the highest WCW finish in the good categories.
That's absolute bollocks that WrestleMania was ahead of Spring Stampede.
Yeah, that's not a good WrestleMania 15.
No, it's a bad WrestleMania. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and get through the rest of these because, like, I love getting to the negative categories. Worst major wrestling card, Heroes of Wrestling by leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm.
2nd place, Bash at the Beach. 3rd place, Survivor Series.
Funnily enough, that won't be the worst thing that happens for Bash at the Beach in the year 2000.
Yeah, 4th, I feel like this should be, like, I don't know if this should have even qualified because, like, it's obvious why, but Over the Edge, I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit tasteless to put in for voting. And Fall Brawl is 5th. There's good WCW representation all over these negative categories, by the way. Best wrestling maneuver, the Dragon Rana.
Okay.
finishing way ahead of the Swanton Bomb in second and the Burning Hammer third.
These smarks don't know what they're talking about.
Fucking hell. Most disgusting promotional tactic, one of my favorites. WWF
God.
continuing pay-per-view after Owen Hart's death, a deserved winner in that category. WWF Big Show's father cancer angle is second place. WCW exploiting Jim Ross's Bell's palsy in third. WCW borderline racism fourth. WWF exploiting
borderline.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? What's funny about this is in number 5 is WWF exploiting Jim Ross's Bell's palsy. So 2 of the top 5 are companies exploiting Jim Ross's Bell's palsy. Fucking what a year for that man.
Yeah.
Sorry, I need to read down to set. I'm gonna read all of them because number 7 is my favorite thing. I don't think I've ever heard of this before, and I need to look it up. But number 6 is WWF hiding Austin's injury angle before Survivor Series. We talked about that when it happened on the show. Number 7, the FMW fart explosion angle.
I'm guessing that was similar to AEW's where it's just the explosion never happened.
See, in my head, it was a literal fart set off the landmines at the end of a match. And I hope not. I hope it is what I think it is.
Well, we on our upcoming show on Patreon are going to talk a lot about FMW.
This is true. Number 8, I forgot about this, and this disgusts me to the core of my soul. WWF using funeral footage from Owen Hart on Raw.
I totally forgot that.
Yes. Gross. Almost as gross, but not quite. WCW pushing David Flair in 9th place. And 10th, WWF McMahon publicly engaging the Harts after death when he was going after them in the press. Honorable mentions: WWF exploitation of women, WCW using Bret Hart's first interview as a ratings ploy. Yes, these were all terrible. It's scummy business, guys. Reader's favorite wrestler was Chris Jericho. Reader's least favorite wrestler, Hulk Hogan. Worst wrestler, Kevin Nash. It's a fucking top 5. I'll tell you this rogues gallery, the top 5 for worst wrestler: Kevin Nash, Viscera, Hulk Hogan, Sid Vicious, and Jim Duggan. Sid is really hard done by there. Worst tag team, could not agree more, Mideon and Viscera. With nearly 4 times the amount of the Outsiders who were second.
Yeah.
Although I guess at least Mideon and Viscera wrestled. And then the crowning achievement that I'm going to leave it with: worst television show, WCW Thunder. Let's go.
Wow.
Let's fucking go.
That says something. In an all-time bad year for wrestling in America, Thunder gets the worst show of the year.
Yeah. I was kind of telling you that I'm not going to read it out, but Dave is so into Bret Hart's Return Calgary Sun column, where he essentially trashes a lot of what's been going on for him over the year. It is worth reading. I'm not going to read it out because it is quite long, but Dave essentially cuts and pastes the whole article into the Observer. So you don't need to look up your old Calgary Suns on microfiche. Dave's got you sorted by full on ripping the article out. We'll go with our WCW news briefs and then get to the program here. Reports are, glad you're sitting down, Lee, that WCW as an entity lost $10 million during the year 1999, which would make it the most any single wrestling company has ever lost in a 1-year period in the history of the business, a record that I believe would hold for 1 year.
Yes, it would.
Until they broke it again. And he said, imagine the magnitude of a statement like that. Fucking like from 1 year previously, they were the most profitable wrestling company in the history of the sport.
So they went from the most profitable in the history of the business to the most profit-losing in the history of the business.
In 1 year.
In 1 year. 12 months.
On what a year. Documented here on Days of Thunder. Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair had meetings with the higher-ups on 1/6 and 1/7, respectively. Hogan agreed to return on the 2/14 Nitro. So if you've been missing Hulk Hogan, he's just round the corner. the Nassau Coliseum, which sold 3,000 tickets when they were put on sale. Hogan is no dummy. That's the night where Raw starts at 11 p.m. because of the Westminster Dog Show. So it's guaranteed Nitro ratings will be up a half point or more. So his return is guaranteed to make a ratings impact. And true, unfortunately, you can knock Hogan all you want, but he's one of the smartest guys in this industry. And I think that's something the death of WCW is really good at pointing out is that, like, when ratings would start to dip, Hogan would disappear.
Yeah.
And when Hogan knew that Nitro was going to pop a number anyway, or a pay-per-view was going to bop a buy rate anyway, he'd mysteriously return.
Yeah. NBA
and take
playoffs
all
are
the credit for it.
Hogan's going home for a month.
Yeah. Oh, you're running for president again, Hulk, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nash missed the weekend house shows where he was scheduled to headline against Sid Vicious, claiming a concussion suffered allegedly when he was hit by the rubber crowbar by Arn Anderson. Bagwell also missed the weekend shows, claiming an injury, but was healthy enough to come to Nitro. Bagwell has developed a bad rep trying to come up with excuses not to work house shows or do sales or public appearances. Maintaining a physique like that for real requires a lot of time and planning. Besides, what else could it? Besides, what else it obviously requires. But he always seems to be fine when it comes time for TV exposure. Hart was called in to replace Nash against Vicious on the house shows, and there's definitely no issues with Brett's health at the moment. While Bill Bush had an initial honeymoon period, the same complaints about double standard, which pretty well always exist in any sports or entertainment company, are being voiced. Why stars get away with not going on the road while injured, and mid-carders are told they need to appear when it's the stars no showing, and not the mid-carders that are one of the reasons this company is in the condition it's in. It's been noted that if any mid-card wrestler did that verbal tirade Scott Steiner did on Nitro on 1-3, oh, was that his fucking famous, like, running down the whole company promo?
This company stinks, go watch Raw. Yeah.
They'd be yelled at and threatened, but nobody said anything to Steiner. Of course, nobody ever says anything to Steiner because even in his incapacitated condition, he's very scary. Hall and Nash are attempting to get a release from their contracts. Like everyone else, Nash wants to work a program with The Rock and sees Triple H as the top heel. And since Triple H and X-Pac were always his understudies, that it guarantees him a good spot. Hall went to the WWF show on 1-4 in Orlando, but that is his hometown, and he does know people and has attended ECW when they came there as well.
I love that Kevin Nash looked at the WWF and went, that fucking J Brown Triple H is the top heel. I can take his spot.
Yeah, that's definitely what it is. Funk currently not scheduled to work any house shows during his return to WCW. It's only TV and pay-per-view, which Dave says kind of makes sense because he was brought in to fill Ric Flair's shoes, who at this stage in his career wasn't doing many house shows either. Bischoff met with Brad Siegel on 1-5 to talk about a number of subjects, the main one being attempting to buy out the remainder of his contract. It's so funny that they're trying to, still in January, they're actively trying to get rid of Bischoff, and within 2 months he's back. Whether that means a Fox wrestling project, which is said to be 2 years away from starting, if it even happens at this point, is all speculative. Do you want to hear about Vince Russo calling a meeting before we move on?
Oh, always.
Vince Russo called a meeting of everyone to try and air out any problems on 1-3 and tell people that if they had a problem doing anything asked of them to come to him about it, probably stemming from Hart's reaction after being asked to run Sid's car over with the monster truck. The meeting seemed to go along fine for a while, although when Russo told the group he was giving the tag title to David Flair and Crowbar because they had been working so hard and he wanted to reward good work, it didn't go over with anyone because of the feeling that having them as champs destroys whatever value the belts have. They had value? Those tag titles?
They were on one person for like 4 months of the year.
They were on Judy Bagwell at some point early this year. Anyway, at one point in the meeting, Nash started complaining about the food and the fact they have to be in the building at 1 p.m. and can't tan and be in the gym, and the catering was so bad. He yelled at David Crockett, who was in charge of that. It wound up with Gary Juster arguing with Nash. It was brought up about bringing weights to the building so guys could work out, but Saturn complained they couldn't get the kind of workout they need because it wouldn't be well equipped enough. Because so many wrestlers have injuries to body parts, there are many movements they can't do so. Well, well-equipped gyms have machines that are easier on the joints, where they can get at least some of their workout on the body part that they couldn't do using free weights alone. For whatever reason, the meeting started to fall apart at that point. Juster talked to both wrestlers individually about it. Later, they went to Russo and complained they shouldn't have been yelled at for the suggestion because it was supposed to be an open forum, and Russo pretty well agreed. Because of course he did. He's a fucking coward.
I have to ask,
Is
how
that
much
really they're having a meeting about the state of the company? Is that really the burning point of contention?
they can't get a workout in? Look, I get it. It's a visual job. Like they need to be in some kind of shape most of the time. But like,
Yeah.
how much would it cost a company the size of WCW to buy some gym equipment, like a couple of machines and a couple of treadmills and some free weights, and just lug them around to whatever arena they're going to?
Yeah.
Like, it just makes no sense that they have these complaints and they just go, okay, we will spend $20,000 or $30,000 to fucking get you a mobile gym.
I totally agree that there's like fault on both sides, because it's like I said, company's falling apart, and this is the thing that's causing contention in the meeting. But then also from WCW's point of view, like, would it really cost that much to shut them up and get this stuff?
No.
In the grand scheme, you lost $10 million. What's another like few thousand?
Mm-hmm.
You know. Anyway, let's move over to Thunder. It's Thunder 95 from Erie, Pennsylvania. 12/01/2000. Lee, you might ask me, now that we're on Wednesday for Thunder, surely huge bump, huge ratings bump. It's going to be all worth it to move away from SmackDown. SmackDown must be what's holding back WCW Thunder right now.
The only bump I imagine being bigger in this week is the bump Jimmy Snuka took before he walked out the curtain on Nitro.
Truly, this was a 0.1 increase in the rating. We had a 2.6 this week. I have news for you. Just to set context for this episode, you don't necessarily have to do it now, but something triggered in my mind at the end of last week's episode, and that is that Lee, a new martial arts division champion, must be crowned.
Yes,
because Bret Hart is now done.
Mm-hmm.
So,
this was brought to my attention in the Discord channel. Voice Wrestling Discord. We obviously have our own channel that we've talked about before. Friend of the show, Webcom, brought up that Bret Hart may in fact be the worst martial arts division champion of all time.
Might be. Had it for
since he beat Goldberg on Nitro.
So since the end of October,
yeah,
had it to the end of December. So 2 months. Absolutely shit all defenses. Like,
so
booked like shit.
So we now know that Bret Hart is done after tonight. So I decided that at Sold Out, I will do the usual. I will select a match number at random, and that match will now be for the martial arts division title. So when we're running down the card later on,
yes, I will ask you first for your number.
Okay.
Before I prejudice this,
I'm going
to write that at the end so that you can live by your mistakes. Lee names his match number. I feel so bad for who was it went and did the full linear.
I was talking about this as well. Yeah. God, it's got out of my head. Yeah, I feel bad. I'm just I can't remember.
I've caught you on the hop there.
Yeah,
we'll have to go back and see, because we were sent the full linear where it should go if
based on where we were at the time in our timeline.
Yeah, if Lee wasn't so whimsical and capricious with how this title switches hands.
Didn't it change hands like 2 weeks later?
Oh, look, do you know what? Maybe before you name it, I'll read off the Roll of Honor, just so we can all bask in the glory. Like, there's been some really solid names having this title, but their runs have been dog shit consistently. It's really is a boondoggle, this title. We're cursing them retroactively by putting this title on them. But anyway, Flashback to the group of old guys who are being referred to as the Old Age Outlaws.
Yes.
Floored by this.
Because everything has to be WWF associated.
Yes. We get to see Jeff Jarrett wrestling. It was Jeff Jarrett, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling all the old men looking for a payday, including fucking George the Animal Steel. So it was George the Animal Steel in a wrestling match.
Yep.
Then Tito Santana in a bunkhouse match. You would have
Yep.
thought flip reverse those two makes a bit more sense. And Snuka in a cage.
Yep.
As you kind of alluded to a few minutes ago.
Stuck it in a cage with Benoit as the ref, I believe.
Yes. They are also teasing. How long have the NWO Black and White been together, Lee?
Ooh, a couple of weeks.
Yes. And the storyline of this show is NWO Civil War.
Yes. I just want to point out that Jeff Jarrett did, in fact, wrestle these three guys on Nitro, Dave. How many appearances do you think these three guys have had in WCW over the years?
Few.
Yes. Few is the correct answer.
Yes.
Yeah, these are all WWF legends, Dave.
Yes. Oh, they are. Yes.
Because there's one thing Vince Russo knows, it's WWF and nothing fucking else.
But you gotta respect the just complete ignorance of the whole point of the NWO, which was supposed to be like the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. These are guys from the WWF coming over to destroy WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, who's going to defend the honor of World Championship Wrestling against the return of the NWO? I know, it's a bunch of old fucking dudes that Vince doesn't want to book anymore.
It's El Matador.
Yeah, fucking hell.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, I didn't watch any of the matches because why would I do that to myself? Tito Santana still looked in good nick, good
He
condition.
still looks like Tito. He still looks like Tito now.
Yeah. The other two, fucking decrepit.
Mm-hmm. Well, one's a murderer and the other is an animal. So
yes. To think that Snuka would still have another WrestleMania match like a decade later.
Yeah.
Is fucking ridiculous.
And he still wouldn't have fucking gone on trial for his crimes.
No. Our opening match. Oh, sorry, by the way, the other stuff that was going on, the NWO Civil War is between Nash and Hart. And we also see Terry Funk branding Kevin Nash's stomach. Our opening match is Crowbar versus Vampiro. This was a fucking weird start to a match because Vampiro there's sometimes, right, there's things that break the logic of wrestling that make all wrestlers that precede a moment look dumb. Like if somebody was to just stop running in the middle of an Irish whip type thing. The whole Irish whip thing is the ultimate like suspension of disbelief thing in wrestling because it doesn't work by the laws of physics. There's no earthly reason why an Irish whip should work. But everybody just does it because if people stopped doing it on the regular, it would just break everything. All of wrestling's internal logic falls apart, right?
The ropes basically become redundant if you can't do an Irish whip. Yeah.
Yes. At the start of this match, Vampiro does something I never thought of. He comes out and he celebrates with the fans, which, by the way, very funny seeing like wholesome babyface Vampiro like cheering with the fans.
Mm-hmm.
But then he just goes, "Do you know what? I'm going to hide around the side of the stage. And when this cunt comes out, I've got to attack him." And fucking all three of them, Crowbar, Gormless Idiot, David Flair, and Daphne all completely fall for it. He's just standing there and he's in view. Like you can see him.
Yeah, but you have to remember it's a WCW show in the year 2000. So chances are a good 40% of the male audience do not have a top on.
I thought you were going to say there's a good chance that all of them are idiots.
I know that goes without saying. So like Vampiro being there topless off to the side probably wouldn't have caught their eye.
Yeah. Is it weird that Daphne is wearing David Flair's tag team title, but Crowbar is nowhere to be seen? So we're talking about value that's left in the titles. They've already forgotten one of the belts.
I mean, look, I think we should just be thankful they haven't got Daphne defending the belts.
Well, well, this is what well, I don't know because she's at worst the second best wrestler in that trio.
That is true.
Because this is what I was going to say is that seconds into this match, I'm just like, look, Crowbar isn't Misawa, but he's such a fucking upgrade in this act in terms of wrestling ability. Fucking hell. Like he straight away does this like cannonball dive to the outside onto the tops of David and Vampiro's heads
Hmm.
at its class. He hits he goes up for a beautiful Uranagi from
Oh my
Vampiro.
god, the fucking height on the Uranagi, it looked awesome.
Planted him. I thought, now, look, maybe I'm just delirious. I thought this match was a blast.
Hang on, you booked ROH?
I know, right? Yeah, yeah. I thought this match
Um,
was a lot of fun.
I did. I genuinely think this was the start of Vampiro really clicking because even when he came
Yeah,
out, there was a big pop.
yeah.
Um, I did like this is the era of Vampiro I can really remember like being over in WCW, and yeah, I thought this was like a really fun match, and like the finish was dumb.
Yeah, of course, because all finishes are dumb now.
Um, it's that or Crowbar's going for a top rope Rana, isn't it? I
Yeah.
don't know. Vampiro was about to do something, and one of them grabbed his ankle, but he
Yeah,
fought him
it's like
off.
so
Yeah.
Daff distracts the ref and David low blows him on the top rope.
Yes.
But Vamp manages to shake that off and hit a top rope sky high for the win. Which if he'd just done the move, it would have looked class.
Yeah.
Like it was like them interfering for Vampiro to still valiantly win, but not in a way that was cool or like he was fighting them off. He just no soul being punched in the dick and then hit his move.
Yeah. And then Aaron comes out to stop a 3-on-1 because
Yeah, so
obviously Flair and Crowbar attack him after the match.
yeah, he's able to easily fend off David, but then Daphne jumps him and the three of them start to beat him down.
Mm.
Yeah, Aaron comes out to attack him. Crowbar tries to attack Aaron. Aaron fucking lays him out. And there's big boos. People were getting into this match and they hated the angle at the end.
Mm-hmm. Then we
Lee,
get a,
did you go ahead?
I was just gonna say, then we get a rundown of what's to come on this show.
Yeah, but also, did you get a bit of fucking deja vu with this flashback after they run down the card, yeah, but then they show Harlem Heat on Nitro, and they
Yes.
just fucking ran back the same angle from Thunder last week,
I swear to God, bro.
bro.
I swear I thought was this only for one of them was wearing different gear. I was like, this is the same thing.
Yeah, are they showing us Thunder last week? Nope, big old Nitro logo on the mask.
Only for the fact one of them was in different gear. I was like,
Yeah,
they've literally done the
they
same thing.
they ran the exact same. Stevie pretends he's happy with the two of them as a
Yeah.
trio in Harlem Heat. They turn around and he attacks both of them
Slapjack. Yeah.
exactly the same. Exactly the same. I wouldn't be surprised if there was also another match for the future of Harlem Heat had just happened beforehand with the exact same
Uh,
finish.
anyway, anyway, Dave, I need to run down this show.
Yeah.
So on this show, as they do the rundown, or the Tonight does the rundown, there is an outdoor hardcore match,
Yes.
an evening gown match involving one male competitor,
Yes.
a three-way dance,
Yes.
a champagne bottle on a pole match,
Yes. So polls, violence against women, men in evening gowns, all the Russo hits.
and then just your normal tag team main event.
Yeah. And like the thing where like Vince Russo overthinks everything, so you can't just have a hardcore match. It has to be an outdoor hardcore match.
Yes.
Yeah. So now we get this. What's so funny is, all right, even within suspension of disbelief, did you buy this fucking Brett bit at all?
No.
We've been going through this shit for 4 years with the NWO, where they have civil wars and they also do fake civil wars,
Mm-hmm.
where they make you believe there's a split in the NWO and then, aha, and possibly the least sincere one of all time happens here as Brett comes out and tries to get the crowd on his side, says, "Oh, they have a right to boo me." I have no idea what the hell's going on. I've let everyone down. I've let the fans down. You know what? Terry was right. The NWO are nothing but a bunch of thugs, and thugs get censored as well, which I thought was interesting. Um, Black and White is gone. Nash comes out saying you're nothing without us. The Canadian hero bullshit is dead, and bullshit didn't get censored, which I thought was interesting.
I did like Lash comes out and says some things never change. You were the same in New York because everything has to go back to the
Oh,
WWF.
everything. They're defined by the company that's doing better than them. Life's
Ah,
all about taking shortcuts, don't you know? Brett calls him a big, tall piece of shit, also not censored. He said, I'll take them on one by one or together, starting right now. They say they'll give him a chance to get out of here now. Um, I popped huge for the next segment, which is Larry Zabisco delivering the funniest line he's delivered in maybe 2 years, where Bret Hart is waiting in an office for the NWO to come and jump him, and then smash cut to the old age outlaws watching, and Larry just deadpans and goes, "Well, that's stupid." Unfortunately, his one-liners would be beaten later, but I will get to that.
uh,
Uh, Cut back to Nitro and Fit Finley because every team has to turn on each other. Another class Russo trope. Fit Finley has turned on Knobs and beat the shit out of him. They were together for like a month as well.
in a brawl that was too graphic for TV. Yeah, we're going to show it on
Yes.
Thunder.
Yeah. It was full on like Danielson getting strangled with the bag, but then they actually just go on to show the thing. Um, this leads to our outdoor hardcore title match, Norman Smiley versus Brian Knobs. The one bit I did chuckle at a little bit was Norman is cold, so he has to wear a big jacket. He really should have done like big woolly mittens and a giant scarf as well, like fully in snowshoes and the whole lot. Didn't commit enough, I think, is my problem with that. This is just shite.
Oh, scared, like quite literally a garbage brawl.
Yeah. Knobs wins.
Yes, a card gently taps Norman.
Yeah. Oh my God, this hit and run. Like, if you thought, right, so the Austin one clearly looks staged, right? The way that jump happens, like it
Mm-hmm.
clearly you'll go along with it though, because at least the car was traveling at something resembling velocity. This car was essentially parked, and Norman Smiley bumps like a fucking landmine went off.
Yeah, and now we get Brian Knobs as our hardcore champion.
But also, like, he gets hit by a car, and then Brian Knobbs still hits him in the head with a weapon and pins
Yeah,
him. It's not just like I put down the finish as finish via vehicular manslaughter. But it wasn't really. I guess technically it was a weapon shot because, being hit by a car, I guess in real life, being hit by a car at that speed wouldn't hurt at all. So you gotta hit him with a weapon. I actually, and now that I'm saying it out loud, I wonder if that was a thing like where they had to ad lib and go, that looked like fucking shit. I have to hit you with something because this is just like
no,
all our credibility is
Brian
gone.
Knobs doesn't think that deeply.
No, no. Brian Knobs, right? Again, a man that there is video evidence of that he is so annoying that even Hulk Hogan is like, okay. There's a great clip from the reality show. It was a Hogan Knows Best, where like
Mm-hmm.
Knobs just won't leave the house. And he keeps waking Hulk up when he's asleep, going, hey, Hulk, do you want to watch WrestleMania 3? And it's like, fuck off, Knobs. It's like, if you're so annoying that a racist comes off as being aggrieved, that's annoying. Anyway, actually, I did in a small aside. I met up with a former
Racist.
housemate. I met up with a former housemate of mine, Paddy, who we lived together in college, and kind of the thing that got us. We actually all kind of like got back into watching a bit of wrestling at the same time when we lived together. Because there was one night where we'd run out of movies to watch on my media player. And I was just like, because I knew they were all former recovered wrestling fans. I was like, we watch
Mm.
WrestleMania 17. And like I was still keeping up. I wasn't watching a huge amount at the end of 2010. I'd watched the Nexus angle and then like kind of fizzled out after that. But this got them all back into to the point where like the WrestleMania that year, which I think was 27, The following, like in 2011, I think it was 27. We all watched that in my house on a dodgy internet dongle. Um, and then like we were able to somehow last past that to the summer of punk, and then we were all back in. But he told me about how he's been kind of like plugged out, maybe since before COVID. A few years before COVID, we'll say, we'll be generous. And so he watched the Vince McMahon documentary, and he never followed it at the inside baseball level you or I had. So
Okay.
almost all of this documentary was a surprise to him.
Okay.
And I was like, how much insider stuff do you know about wrestling? And again, this is like the levels of how much of a piece of shit you have to be. And he goes, well, look, I didn't know Vince was a monster, but I know things that everybody knows. Like, you know how Hulk Hogan's a massive lying piece of racist shit. And I was like, yeah, okay. So that like even people who don't follow wrestling know about the Hulkster. And that warms my heart
Well, I
a little
mean,
for the fate of humanity, even
the
though he's
the
probably about to be named Secretary of State or something like that.
the Gawker lawsuit helped with that, So
Yeah. As I said, like at least, Hulk Hogan in pop culture gave us the incredible him having to be deposed about the size of him and his characters' penises and how they are different. If Gawker died, let it be for
uh,
something like that.
yeah.
Um, anyway, the Revolution comes out, and Jesus Christ, I loved WCW, right? And I should be sitting there going, everything that brings that countdown clock closer to midnight, I should be sad about. But I can't fucking wait for the revolution to be over when these
I'm
guys jump.
so sick of the Revolution.
Man, that's a group that really should have hit.
Yeah.
Just put these guys together. Have Shane Douglas do quick interviews because he can get heat in quick interviews, and just have them all fucking wrestle. Wrestle really good matches. You could prop up the entire mid card of your pay per views and your TVs by splitting those four guys, well, three of
Mm-hmm.
them at least, across three matches. You know,
Or
fuck.
just make Douglas, Saturn, and Malenko your new triple threat. There you go.
Yeah, I
Bang. Mid
feel
card fucking.
like I feel like this fan that was audible during this segment because he talks about how Sunday is the animals' day of reckoning. And one man in the crowd stands up and just goes, I hate you.
Yeah, no, it's such a fucking. I'm sick of the Revolution and the fucking animals.
Yeah. Shane reminds us, I think they've taken out Ray. They've taken out
Multiple
Eddie.
times.
Yes,
Multiple times
multiple
they've taken
times.
out Ray.
Yes. So I think it's only Conan and Kidman left, they say. And the revolution is poised and capable of finishing the job. I should fucking hope so. It's 4-on-2.
Well,
Uh,
don't forget, like all men in this company, they now hate the woman they're associated with.
yes. Speaking of which, they run down Duggan. Then Perry takes the microphone, just starts calling Asia a bitch. Shane tells Asia to settle down, fucking completely gaslighting her. Then he just goes, Joe, I gotta call her a bitch as well. Calls her a bitch fucking twice. End of segment.
It's so fucking bad.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. The first time we see a woman, right? The first time we see a woman on this show, like a 1 minute long segment, they call her a bitch 3 times.
Well, I mean, that's what Vince Russo
Fucking
does
hell.
in his fucking real life. He just
Fucking
sees a woman,
hell.
just calls her a bitch.
Like, like how? How can anyone with a straight face go, no, he wasn't super weird about women? Like how?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we now see the NWO have Brett hostage. They're dragging him somewhere. The old dudes look on and they're just fucking cackling about it. They're like, why the fuck would we save this piece of shit?
I love that. They just go, fucking me, deserves it.
I gotta say, the old guys Statler and Waldorfing their way through this show, I'm kind of into. Like, just the idea of cutting back to them when any of the heels are in distress and going, yeah, fuck off, is I could deal with that every week, to be honest. Um, Terry says specifically, you know what? He deserves it. We're not doing a damn thing. It's the debut of my Terry on this show.
It's a good Terry.
Thank you. Thank you. Um, there's a Tank Abbott interview. Um, this is fucking weird because like Jerry Flynn almost immediately attacks him and then spears him into the dirt There's just a pile of dirt and a hole that's been dug in the ground in the fucking car park. The fuck is this?
I did
And
love the
then
fact that
Gene Okerlund.
Gene stooges them off.
Yeah, Gene's fucking narc. Rats on Jerry to the police. And both of them get arrested, but Jerry first. Then we get what I'm sure was your match of the night, the WCW Cruiserweight title evening gown match.
Hang on, it
Medusa.
wasn't a cruiserweight title match.
Oh, well, according to Cage Match, it was.
I don't think it was because the cruiserweight title match is set for the pay-per-view.
I don't know. You're gonna have to take this one up with the Cage Match inmates on this one.
I'll DM Striga and get this.
The one thing I tell you, the one thing I'll fully agree with you on, it's not a match.
I mean, the highlight was we got to see Miss Hancock for the first time.
Well, here we go. So Ed Ferrara, I'll tell you, this is what I started off my notes with. Ed Ferrara in an evening gown will haunt me till the day I fucking die. And then yes, Miss Hancock from Standards and Practices debuts on Thunder. She writes some notes about Oklahoma and walks off. For those not in the know, Miss Hancock is, of course, Stacy Keibler, who had been identified as Stacy Keibler when she won the Nitro Girl search a few months ago. We've already seen her on TV, but this is her in the character. I couldn't remember a time where, look, I'm going to spoil it for people who haven't seen much of WCW Thunder, is that
It does.
yeah, well, her gimmick is essentially, I won't go where it leads eventually because I mean, if you don't know already, you won't fucking guess it. But essentially, I remember this character in my head. Obviously, I saw the debut angle. I'm now in the territory where I've definitely seen all these Thunders before, right? When I was a kid. I didn't remember a time where she was just coming out and writing notes. I remember her always as she comes out with her notebook and then at an arbitrary point during the match will start sexy dancing.
See, that's your fucking destroyed mind just remembering the part you want to remember.
Look, all I'm saying is I was 11 years old at the time. There's certain things that stick long in the memory and some things that don't.
So you don't remember the notepad and all the note taking she did?
No,
it was just
no.
the famous Stacey Dannard Miss Hancock dance.
Yes. I like it feels weird to say it in this way, but I'm just gonna say it. There's no way I can say this that won't sound bad. I'll be interested to see at what point, like how long does Vince Russo have patience?
Absolutely.
But I'm interested to see because it's Vince Russo. I'm interested to see how long does Vince Russo go, this is bullshit. Just start like dancing and shaking your ass and stuff. I don't care about this fucking standards and practices bullshit.
Like when I was talking
swear to God.
Like when I was talking to you privately about AEW a couple of weeks ago, and I said, Harley Cameron's really good, and you went, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, to be fair, that's your receipt for you were trying to tell me about Harley Cameron being a great promo, and I was like, yeah, the live show charisma Lee, is it? I know what you're at.
Genuinely, Harley Cameron is one of the highlights of the fucking whole company at the moment.
I think it's very funny that you say that on the week that there was that Mina Shirakawa Harley Cameron segment that's now making you look double.
What was this one?
Oh, did you not see it?
No.
Okay. Let's just say there was plenty of live show charisma, and that was the joke in their backstage segment.
Okay. No, I saw.
Let's just say they were aggressively shimmying at each other in a backstage interview to the point where Renee had to intercede and call a halt to the nonsense. It was very funny.
Okay, of all the weeks for me to stick up for Harley, it's probably not the most ideal one.
It was the perfect one for the bit that we were just doing.
I will say I did see her promo on Rampage.
Yeah.
And it's the great bit where she keeps getting cut off.
Yeah.
Have you seen this? She keeps going for these promos and Renee just keeps going, we're out of time.
It reminds me, I don't want to get too invested because it reminds me of, do you remember when we were really into when Toni Storm started losing her mind?
Yes.
But hadn't turned into Steamboat Tony yet.
Mm-hmm.
The segments where she was just slowly going insane because she lost the belt were fucking excellent.
Yes.
Although I'll tell you, it really is like to talk about that women's division for just a second longer. It really is a show of how like badly booked it is at the moment that I'm actually fucking begging for Steamboat Tony to come back.
Yeah, because I just want to get to the next point.
Yes. at that point not having Mariah May with the title.
Yeah.
Because it's been fucking bad, man. Anyway. So yeah, Miss Hancock, she arrives, she leaves. Um, Apparently they find Standards and Practices find David Flair and suspended the varsity club on Monday. So they were
Oh,
back for a week and now they're gone. Um, Oklahoma gets jumped. Oklahoma struggling to lose. I don't know if I like this bit or not. I went back and forth in a couple of seconds. The idea that he has like a garter belt with sauce attached to it, but he's fixed it so well to his leg that the finish is that he can't get, he's obsessed trying to get the sauce out to whack her with the bottle again, and he can't because he's taped it too well.
I mean, look, I didn't personally enjoy the imagery of a man in an evening gown fiddling at his midsection trying to get something out.
It's true. It's true. Like there was layers of tape over the sauce bottle and he just couldn't get it out. What I didn't like was that he breaks that grip on the sauce bottle for just a moment to choke her and drop her on her head.
Yes.
Um she attacks him, hits the backdrop, strips him off and wins. And then of course, because this is Vince Russo, he strips her and pours barbecue sauce, where you might ask Lee, directly into her cleavage. And
Yes.
then, as if that wasn't disrespectful enough, baseball slide drop kicks her off the apron to get rid of her. This poor fucking woman.
Yep. Is there any reason she hated wrestling?
Must be fucking pining for the way she was mistreated in WWF. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it was the grass is always greener, I guess. We see the NWO torching Brett's tights, with an acetylene torch. I feel like you really shouldn't have trusted the NWO with an acetylene torch in front of someone's face, and yet they did. But again, I guess these were the guys trying to get Brett to drive the monster truck a couple of weeks ago, so I shouldn't be surprised. Gene, continuing his pervert gimmick that he's doing, offers to disrobe himself to help Medusa feel more comfortable during the interview. And she, God bless her, it's the funniest no sell of all time. Just goes, yeah, whatever. And then just does the promo she has to deliver. She's not engaging at all. She says,
I mean, we should add that Gene is basically, face to chest with Medusa.
Yes.
And the entire promo, he never raises his head.
No. She says he can have a shot at Sold Out, and barbecue sauce isn't all he'll be dripping with. The implication is blood, but that's not how the commentary reacted to that statement. We get a triple threat match. Booker T versus Midnight versus Stevie Ray, because it's not enough that we've done this angle twice. We really need to drive it home with the fucking hat trick.
Dave, what happens in this match?
Now, can I just say one thing I found so fucking dumb that I laughed, right?
Was it the elimination?
No. Booker T's music starts playing. Cuts backstage to Booker T. Immediately, Stevie hits Booker backstage with the chair. The music stops, and then they start Stevie's music, which is the same music. Why did they stop and go, okay, now we have to put on Stevie Ray's music, and it's fucking Harlem Heat music? It's just like, that's such a wrestling production thing. It's fucking stupid. But I laughed. I wasn't supposed to, but I did.
Brilliant.
I wrote,
I really hope there was two different files. One that just said Booker T.wav and then Stevie Ray.wav.
Yeah. It's WCW, so of course this match is 90% beating on a woman. Booker emerges to make the save. I wrote, Jesus Christ, Vince Russo. Would you like to talk about how in this triple threat match there is an elimination?
Well, no, they did call it a three-way dance.
Okay.
Now,
however, do you want to talk about something that flies in the face of wrestling psychology? What this finish is. Not this finish, sorry, this elimination.
So, for no particular reason, just in the middle of this match, the ref decides to start doing a count out on Stevie Ray, who's outside the ring, and proceeds to count Stevie out in despite the fact that there's two people still in the ring, and never once did the commentators or the ring announcer explain that there will be eliminations in this match.
Yep.
So Stevie Ray gets counted out and proceeds to tell Booker and Midnight that they need to wrestle each other.
That
and
this
sure
was his
enough,
plan.
yeah, and sure enough, that's what they have to do.
Yes. Even though no one has a gun to their head.
Yes.
Nothing is on the line.
Nope.
They could just do a finger poke of doom, or they could just both walk out and get counted out.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Lee, something that happens on commentary during this next few seconds. Did you know that there is a lethal lottery tag tournament happening right now in WCW?
No.
Yeah, there is.
Is there?
Yeah, they mentioned it. They didn't mention anybody that's in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's on the line?
I don't know. Can't wait to find out.
Okay.
Stevie pulls Booker out, even though, so Stevie's whole plan is to have the two of them wrestle each other. This goes for a minute, and then Stevie just pulls Booker out, beans him with a slapjack, rolls him in. Stevie yells at her to pin him. She does. And Lee, we need to shed a tear. This is Midnight's last ever televised match.
Good.
She has one more house show match, I believe. And then I think she makes a few more televised appearances.
She's definitely around for when Big T shows up.
Yeah. And she does appear at the pay-per-view. But this is according to Cage Match, her last television her last wrestling appearance.
Don't worry, Dave. If you were concerned, I don't think it's the last time you'll see her getting beaten up.
No, I doubt that very much. She drop kicks Stevie off the apron. He runs in and fucking slapjacks her in the fucking face.
Yep.
Just WCW, guys. Violence against women. The NWO are now threatening to cut Brett's hair. We've got Jerry Flynn in what is definitely prison and not just a cage backstage for gear. And then, of course, the dumbest cops in the history of the world. Two men are arrested for violently assaulting each other. I can't see what could possibly go wrong if we put them in the same cell together. Of course, they immediately start fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Champagne Chris Canyon next, or CCK, as the fans call him.
Mm-hmm.
With the ladies and with Biggs. He does have one line in here that made me laugh, where he says, with Bam Bam tonight, he's going to hit him right on his, then pauses, turns to Big, says, no offense, then turns back and says, big bald head. Then they do back to the NWO, doing the most clearly and transparently fake shaving of Brett's head. Like, if you didn't already know, because they wouldn't show his face or show violence directly happening to Brett, that this was a setup, you knew now when they shaved off like
from
fake
the black hair,
wig hair.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we have, right, I think is it Larry and Orndorff?
Larry and Paul Orndorff, yeah.
Larry and Paul Orndorff in the middle of this segment. Right. So this is the point at which the old lad said, okay, maybe we'll just go look for Brett. It's gone on too long now. So they're the only people in the world that fallen for it. So Larry and Zbyszko and Paul Orndorff open up a detective agency in the middle of this show and decide they're going to go sleuthing around for Bret Hart. Paul Orndorff delivers 2 lines on this show within the space of about 30 seconds, one either side of the break. And both of these lines fucking killed me stone dead. And I can't believe you missed both of them.
Yeah. Well, obviously wasn't concentrating that much.
Orndorff turns to Larry and says, with a tenor and seriousness that he has just delivered some horrible news, says, do you want to look for Brett or do you want to go get soup? Then they go to the break and they come back and these two old cunts.
I wish he had soup in his hand when they came back.
They should have. Oh, such a missed opportunity, because the next bit they do actually would have worked really well, because they come back from the break and the two of them are walking down a nondescript corridor and there's this tiny recycling bin, and he goes, "Do you want to go check if he's in that trash can?" So what they actually, yes, the ultimate, like this would have shown that okay, Vince Russo has comedy chops. If they came back from the break and he's like scooping out the leftover soup into the bin, turns around to Larry and goes, "Yeah, he wasn't in there."
They're just walking down the hallway, sipping on a cup of soup or something.
Just like
Just don't
this
address it.
middle-aged
Just
man,
have them drink the soup.
this middle-aged man. Do you want to go fight Bret Hart, who is being presumably beaten to death somewhere in the arena, or would you like to get some soup? Fucking old dudes love soup, man.
Paul Orndorff and Larry Zabisco all of a sudden turned into fucking Abe Simpson and Jasper from the retirement home.
I was so I was in pieces. I was like, on
Uh,
this week where we like the week we're recording this is the week Paul Orndorff got brought into the Observer Hall of Fame, and well deserved for this segment alone.
Absolutely.
Well deserved. Anyway, we come up next with take your Vince Russo drink for hitting a trope, the champagne on a pole match. Bam Bam versus Chris Canyon. One of the many issues I have with Vince Russo doing pole matches, apart from the fact there is 4,000 of them, is that there is never consistency in whether retrieving the thing from the pole ends the match or makes the item on the pole legal for use in said match. This is the latter.
Ultimately, it does not matter.
No, well, nothing matters. Nothing matters at all. What's that line fucking Tyson gave to that poor fucking bemused child before the boxing match at the weekend where he said, "Nothing matters. We're all dead. We're all dust. There's no legacy," or some shit like that. Get this real
Jesus.
fucking nihilist shit because he just sold his soul to a YouTuber. Anyway, barely a minute into this match before the main thing is about reaching for a fake bottle of champagne. Bam Bam makes out with one of Canyon's ladies, so we don't have violence against women. We have men forcing themselves on women in this match. So there you go. Sexual violence against women. Great. After they tried to interfere, Canyon hits him with the belt for a 2 count. They're still
the fake world title that he still has.
Fake world title, which it's impressively shitty. Because it has this kind of like, you know, when light strikes a puddle of oil and it has this weird kind of rainbowy effect. That's like the shitty substitute metal they have on this belt. This movie belt has that kind of like tinge to it. So it's impressively shitty. The other thing as well is announcers still acting like it's a complete fucking mystery what this belt is.
Yeah, don't recognize their own world title.
I believe they literally called it a mystery belt in this. Anyway. Canyon gets the bottle, goes to jump on him with the bottle off the top, countered by Bammer. Bammer throws the bottle away, headbutts him in the balls, hits the greetings from Asbury Park, and wins.
Yeah.
Then the Sting package comes out with a bat and attacks Bammer. The lights go out. Fucking hell. Like, Sting's not back until March. I think that's what we looked at when we Googled to see how long he's gone for. And they're already so desperate without him on TV for a few weeks. They have to keep his presence live. So the lights go out. Sting's music plays. It's back to the Crow theme, not Seek and Destroy.
No, Seek and Destroy played.
Oh, did it? Oh, sorry. It's the dub I watched. My apologies. It was actually a very good dub because it did sound like it was actually in the arena for once. Usually these dubs are very badly done. The lights go out, but for a spotlight on a crow on the turnbuckle, which that was evocative for me of when a crow held Eric Bischoff hostage backstage in TNA, famously. Shout out Garrett. Lex bails, Canyon smashes Bam on the head with the bottle and hits That's a Wrap. Fucking hell. Detectives Orndorff and Zabisco find a lump of fake hair backstage. And then we have a Buff is definitely banging Kimberly, definitely not banging Kimberly montage. Yes. Then we have Gene Okerlund saying, I think, and look, it covers some ground, the singular creepiest thing I've ever heard anyone say in an interview with a woman in wrestling.
Okay, we should say Gene and Kimberly are backstage somewhere in a dimly lit room
Yes.
conducting an interview.
Dimly lit room with like leather couches and stuff like that. And she's wearing a dress and he's Gene. And he says, as a non sequitur, in between introducing the segment and letting her speak, says, and I quote, firstly, I can see that the air conditioning is on.
What the fuck?
And then he just continues the interview. And she doesn't react at all.
I mean, how would you react?
I mean, I screamed, what the fuck, at my television.
I did the very same.
Did the jump 10 seconds back to go, did he fucking say that?
The casual, just fucking, the casualness of it all, of just like, oh, I can see the aircon's on. So, are you banging Buff Bagwell?
Yes, as if that wasn't already bad enough. Then the only thing Kimberly is valuable for from a Gene interview is to find out who she's banging, and then starts to ask about like her sex life with DDP. And what I found really funny about this, in a sad way, is that they're going for this steamy, salacious interview to rile up the young men potentially watching this at home.
Mm-hmm.
God bless Kimberly. Like, she's clearly not into it, nor should she be. Gives the most fucking boring, like monotone responses to all this stuff in the world. And good. It didn't deserve her trying to ham it up. And do like the hey boys kind of stuff. No.
That would come later on in 2000.
It was weird and bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get Kev getting taped up, selling his burn marks, although you never see them, as Scott is conveniently standing in front of the allegedly beaten Brett. Then we have Benoit doing an interview talking about how he's going to beat Jarrett in, and I quote, triple threat theater at the pay-per-view, where they're going to have a series of 3 matches with each other. That is definitely going to happen. We have a tag team match. Jeff Jarrett and Kevin Nash versus Chris Benoit and Sid Vicious. I mean, look, this is the Sid match of the night, so this is where I'm going to take my little break and let you cover this one. It's fuck.
I really need to start taking more notes on these matches when Sid's involved. Keep doing this to me.
Right, can I start off with one thing? I'll start off with a discussion point for you to lead off on.
Okay.
And that is the nature of triple threat theater is that they will have 3 matches. It doesn't matter it's not 2 out of 3 falls. They are having 3 matches.
Mm-hmm.
I ask you this to start because they do specify this. The title will be on the line in all 3 matches.
Yes.
Why?
Because it's WCW.
Yes.
I mean,
surely it doesn't matter that it's on the line in the first 2.
I'm guessing the idea was they were going to have somebody win the first 2 and then lose the third one, and that the person that lost 2 will still be US champ.
No, I'm guessing that Vince Russo is a fucking moron.
Okay, if it was a logically well thought out company, they would think, well, we still need to say that these 2 guys are somewhat equal.
Yes. Could just do 2 out of 3 falls then, couldn't you, mate?
Yeah, you could. I mean, look, again. But, so this match is, I mean, it's actually, it gets a good bit of time considering the people involved. But it's basically just like a 4-way fight, like tornado tag match for the majority.
I thought the best performance on the whole show was in this match, and it wasn't any of the wrestlers. I thought the lads on commentary, they fucking do an unbelievable job trying to put this card over. Make you try to think that this card is important. It's just a fucking shame. Yeah, it's just a fucking shame what happens to the card because they really are doing the hard sell. But continue.
I'm trying to think, what was the finish? Oh, Jeff Jarrett has the belt and something happens. The belt's in the ring. Benoit is going up top looking for the headbutt, but Nash pushes him off and he goes flying headfirst into the belt. Then Jerry hits a stroke onto the belt, I think, and pins Benoit.
Yeah. And Benoit gigs.
It could have been real. Who knows?
Yeah, could have been. We cut to backstage. Steiner is dead under a table. Brett has escaped. By the way, there is 4 segments left if you include this one, and the wrestling has concluded for the evening. I should mention this is a 6-match card, which is really unusual for Nitro.
Yeah, normally it's like 9.
Yeah. Brett stumbles out to the car. Some of the most horrendous acting you've ever seen. Oh, by the way, Jeff and Nash find Steiner's body and they go off hunting with baseball bats. Really convincing tough guy routine there. Brett stops. He says, "I ain't going out like this." Walks back to the building, staggers out to the ring. Jeff and Nash come out to confront him. Arn and Terry come out with the brand. They run off Jeff and Nash, summon the NWO back to the ring. They tell Hart, "You drop out, we'll take care of this." Arn throws the water at Brett. By the way, the brand, he's brought out the brand. It is on fire.
He has it on fire, and that's why Arn
Yeah.
supposedly has the bucket of water.
Yeah. So Arn throws the water at Brett, and it washes his makeup off because their makeup bruises. It doesn't.
Except it doesn't, yes.
Yes. They have to sell that it does. I can't believe they did not test this at all.
For some reason, they used the ultra powerful makeup that Sting has no access to because
yeah. Sting breathes in his face paint and it melts off him. This is fucking cement on his face.
Fucking only WCW.
Yeah. The NWO attack. Larry and Paul come out. They get beaten down too. Sid and Benoit come back for the save. Terry swinging like a madman but gets hit with the bat. Terry, one of the all-time Hall of Fame jelly leg sellers of punches in the world. Nash tries to brand Terry. He gets low blowed. Both men reach for the iron, but we're out of time. That's your go home.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I don't think we mentioned that once in this 2 hours. This is the go home show for Sold Out.
Yes, it is.
God.
Awful.
Okay. So we'll wrap up this show and then we'll go to our predictions. So, Lee, your overall thoughts on this episode, your winners and losers, please.
I mean, the overall thoughts on the show is this NWO infighting angle was just horrendous. Like, nobody would have bought it. And like you said, we've seen NWO infighting so many times. It's boring at this point. And the Revolution versus the Filthy Animals is boring at this point.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like we're just hitting the same points over and over. Like Medusa getting beaten up, Midnight getting beaten up. Kimberly Page is nothing but an object for her husband to fight over. It's so fucking, it's pathetic, is what it is. Yeah, let's just move on to Sold Out.
Okay, well, Lee, before we do that, I have to give you the finish counter by Ludwig Borga. 6 matches on this show, 3 clean finishes, which is a shock because it didn't feel like it in reviewing it. 1 interference leading directly to finish, 1 miscellaneous shenanigan, and 1 via slow motion vehicular homicide. Now, Lee, I'm going to run down. Before we get, I will say, there are 12 matches on this card. Okay, so that's where the missing Thunder matches went on this pay-per-view. Now, you will need to pick a number between 1 and 12 for the martial arts division, but allow me to run down the Roll of Honor. I won't do dates just for now. Our first champion, Prince Ikea. We were off to a fucking flyer there. Chris Jericho. Dean Malenko. Raven. Perry Saturn. We're going pretty good in terms of wrestlers at that point. Wrath, which is the shortest title reign, and I think that won't be beaten. 3 days.
Yeah, well, that was also injury.
Yeah. Scott Steiner. Booker T. Scott Steiner, who to this date is the only 2-time Mad Champion, Chris Benoit, Sid Vicious, Goldberg, and Bret Hart. So even though a lot of the wrestlers are very good wrestlers, it is a snake bitten title. So I will reveal at the end of the card who you have picked. But
Okay.
your number between 1 and 12 determine the winner.
I am going to pick match number 3.
You cannot.
Ah. Okay.
Unless you want to say whoever gets the pin in that match.
Oh, shit. Okay, match number 4.
It's not a singles match, is what I'm saying.
Okay, match number 4.
Okay.
Okay. So I need to run down this card, right?
Okay, so you have got 12 matches, pal. And I'll tell you, I will tell you if you get a match, I'll tell you if there's a stip, and if you can guess the stip, that's a Brucey bonus for you. There's a few stips on this.
Okay, main event: Chris Benoit versus Sid Vicious for the vacant WCW World Title.
Correct. That is 1.
Kevin Nash versus Terry Funk for the commissionership.
That is your semi-main event. I should say, by the way, Benoit and Sid is by a distance the longest match on the show at 14 minutes 53 seconds.
DDP versus Buff Bagwell in a fight of some kind.
They are wrestling in a last man standing match.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
like all great last man standing matches, it lasts 11 minutes.
Vampiro versus David Flair in something on a crowbar and a pole match.
I will allow it. Those are not the only 2 participants in the match.
Okay, so it's David Flair and crowbar.
Yes.
Versus Vampiro.
It's a handicap match.
Okay, right.
So is that 4?
That's 4, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Then we have Booker T versus Stevie Ray.
That is 5. And that's just a singles match.
Okay. Oh, the 4-way hardcore match. So Meng, Norman, Finley, and Knobs.
Yes, that's 6.
Okay. Then we have... God, what else is on this show?
Can I give you a hint?
Okay, so I'll go with what I definitely know. Dean Malenko versus Billy Kidman.
That's 7. Do you want to guess the stipulation for that match?
That is oh God, what do they call it? There's no ropes. It's like a ring out match or something like that. It's called.
It's a catch as catch can match.
Catch can match, yeah. Billy Kidman versus Perry Saturn.
That is 8.
And Billy Kidman.
Yeah.
Versus. It's not Douglas. Maybe it is officially Douglas.
Oh, no. Well, it's someone with Shane Douglas.
Okay.
I don't think you will guess based on me saying that.
I'll come back to it.
By the way, the Perry Saturn match, what was the stip?
Oh, falls count anywhere.
It's a bunkhouse brawl.
Okay. Yeah.
They essentially put Billy Kidman into the triple threat theater against 3 different people.
Jerry Flynn versus Tank Abbott.
Yes. I'm surprised that it isn't written in the cut match. It just says singles match. So that's 9.
Okay, so Jerry Flynn in the block match, isn't it?
But it just says singles match here. So let me just count just for posterity. So we got 1 match you haven't said. 2, 3, 4. You got 4 matches left.
Oklahoma Medusa.
Yes. Which is a singles match for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship. and the Martial Arts Division Championship.
Oh, no. What have I done?
Oh boy, that belt is going on an interesting journey.
God, what else is on this show?
So you know that one of your remaining 3 matches is the other Kidman match.
Yes, I can't think of. It'll come to me in a minute.
So you have 2 other matches. So I can give you the type of match that they are.
Go for it.
Oh wait, have I counted wrong? So you have the other Kidman match.
Mm-hmm. Jeff Jarrett has a match on this show.
No, he does not.
Does he not?
Nope.
Oh.
No, it's just 2 matches.
Okay.
Sorry, just 2 matches left.
Does Dustin Rhodes have a match on this show?
He does not.
Does Scott Steiner have a match on this show?
He does not.
Who the fuck?
There's one that you might have figured out. I don't think you will if you haven't gotten it already, because it is
somewhat of a pushed match, is it?
It is featuring 2 acts that have been promoted this month, but not necessarily against each other.
Oh, the artist has a match, does he?
No, he doesn't.
Oh. I don't know. I give up. I can't remember.
Okay. We have a tag team match.
God.
The Mamalukes versus the Harris brothers.
Oh, Christ.
Do you want to know what's worse? It's nearly 10 minutes long.
Okay.
And then inside a steel cage, Billy Kidman wrestles The Wall with Shane Douglas.
That's what it is, yeah. The Wall.
That is, in fact, The Wall, brother.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have put the belt into the Oklahoma Medusa match. So that's something you're going to have to live with.
Yep.
Looking forward to it?
Nope. I've seen the show many, many times. I will say this is probably the last WCW pay-per-view I have very clear memories of.
I'll pull the Band-Aid off now. It doesn't get better.
Yeah.
is a way I can put this.
I think that goes for fucking certain. While I think of it, I did remember who did our linear martial arts division title thing. It was Kim Geist.
It was
Yes.
him. Our deepest apologies.
Yes.
We've suppressed much over this time to get us through.
Yeah.
Your eternal work to try and predict the capricious nature of Lee Malone is very appreciated.
Who could have predicted where I would bring this title?
We should dig out their title history and see how much fucking better it is than what you've done to it.
Thanks.
It can't be worse. Especially where it's about to go. Anyway.
It's about to go places and do things.
It certainly is. Anyway, until sold out, thank you very much for listening to another episode of Days of Thunder. We will be back at largemanappears.com, our Patreon, next week. And we will be back on the free feed and the Voices of Wrestling feed in 2 weeks. Until then, be safe. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks everyone for listening to another episode of Days of Thunder. Days of Thunder was produced by Lee Malone and edited by me, Dave Ryan. To keep up to date with the show and find all the ways to listen to us, you can follow us on Twitter at WCW Thunderpod or click the Linktree link in our Twitter bio or in the show notes. I am at the Day to Dave on Twitter and Lee is at Malone_713. Days of Thunder is a part of the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Follow the VOW network anywhere good podcasts are sold for more fine podcasts than you can shake a stick at. Thanks.
Hey now, it's Mike Gilbert, host of the Mike and JD Show, right here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Join JD by God Oliva and myself every Thursday night live on the Voices of Wrestling YouTube channel at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we stay up all night discussing all the hottest stories in professional wrestling. You can also check us out right here on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting feed, or you can subscribe to the Mike and JD Show feed. Now, enjoy the show.